Big thanks to Kamada Joe for sponsoring this episode.
Coca Cola is going to turn your ribs into the best barbecue ribs ever. And these are the subjects of today, because I'm going to prove to you that something as simple as a drink mixed with delicious food can be one of the best things ever. For my ribs, I selected beautiful baby back ribs with a nice thick amount of meat. I like baby back ribs the best because baby back ribs have a good fat to meat ratio. And there's actually lots and lots of meat on the bone, and there's no cartilage whatsoever. No rib tips, nothing. Just pure bone and meats and juiciness and all the good stuff from the ribs. First thing that I'm going to do is create a simple seasoning for these ribs. I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of paprika powder, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, and half a tablespoon of garlic powder. One last thing to do before we start seasoning these ribs is to remove the membrane. I like to use a dinner knife, wiggle it in between the bones and the membrane, and then just yank it off. Then it's time to sprinkle on the seasoning, and of course I'm going to put it on both sides, and it has to be a nice thick layer that will season the whole of the rib. And for the special occasion, I'll be cooking on the Kamada Joe Coca Cola edition. First thing that I'm going to do is put charcoal in it. Light it up. This is the proper way to fire up the barbecue. This is what I normally do. The Kamada Joe is now lit up and ready to start cooking. And of course, we want a little bit of smoky flavor with our Coca Cola ribs. So I'm going to add a chunk of pecan wood. It's going to provide us with smoke flavor. As you can see, the charcoal is really hot. The chunk of wood is going to start burning instantly. But once we put on the rest of the barbecue and the food, the temperature is going to drop down. We're going to adjust the vents. Everything's going to be dandy. So if you have a little fire in the barbecue and you think it's a little hot, you're still good to go. Time to put in this special ring. This is the slow roller ring. And what the slow roller does, it creates parabolic heat. And the parabolic heat is going to let the smoke run faster along the ribs, getting them even better smoke flavor and a nicer crust on the outside. And then the grill grates go on, the ribs go on, and then I'm gonna close the lid. The top vent is already set open to 2 stripes, and the bottom vent is gonna be closed to about a finger open. That will reduce the airflow, but will still be enough to keep the fire going while the smoke is free to stream out of the top. I'm gonna give you a quick tip. When smoking Coca Cola ribs, you're gonna need Coca Cola. And not that we don't need a refreshing drink while we're smoking ribs. No, we need to put Coca Cola on our ribs. And there's not one way to put Coca Cola on our ribs. There are so many ways. And one of them is spraying the Coca Cola direct on the ribs. And look at these ribs. They kind of need a little bit of spray. We got a dry crust building up. A little bit of Coca Cola will make them even better. And if you see your ribs drying up on the outside, I recommend spraying your ribs every 30 minutes or so you make sure your bark stays nice and moist. The ribs have been smoking for about 2 to 2.5 hours, and it's time to wrap them up. And the reason that I wrap them is because they picked up plenty of smoke flavor. So we don't need to add more. And all we need now is for the ribs to cook. If we pack them, we're not losing any more moisture. Because even though we sprayed the ribs, we were losing moisture all of the time. So let's get the aluminum foil out, put in some butter, sprinkle on some sugar, place on the ribs with the meat towards the butter, wrap it up, seal it, and put it back on the barbecue. And while we wait, you and me, we're gonna make a barbecue sauce. And of course, yes, this is going to be the Coca Cola barbecue sauce. I'm going to put in half a liter of Coca Cola and I'm going to boil it down to about half. And when it reduced to about a cup of cola, I'm going to add a cup of ketchup. To that, I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of Worcester sauce, the juice of a lemon, and a 1/4 cup of molasses, in the Netherlands also known as pannenkoeksyrup. Stir it up and let it boil until you get a syrupy bubble. Another hour has gone by and it's time to take a look at the ribs. Careful now, they might fall apart on you. Oh, yeah, those are some good looking ribs. I got a little shiner here popping up, which means they're absolutely freaking ready. But check out the other side. A nice pull away from the bone. And so now it's time we add more Coca-Cola. We're gonna brush on that sauce, making this even more delicious and shiny and sticky. And this is gonna make you so hungry, you wish you were here right now. Of course, a little bit of that barbecue sauce goes on both sides. And this is now ready to go back on the barbecue for about 5 minutes of cooking. Because these ribs are done, all I need is that sauce to get sticky on those ribs and hug it like there's no tomorrow. Ooh, shiny. Look at that. Mouth-watering ribs. How gorgeous are these? Let me just show you, if I pick them up, how juicy they are. Absolutely beautiful, nice color. Juicy on the outside, sticky from the sauce. Dark red smoke color from the barbecue. So absolutely freaking good looking. Woohoo! All I want to do is stare into these, but I gotta give them about 5 minutes before they are at eating temperature. So I guess I'll be standing here for a while looking at my beautiful ribs. Oh, full of the bone tender. Those are some tasty ribs. And the cool thing about using Coca-Cola, it brings a hint of bitterness to your ribs that you never had before. But you think, what is that? That is the flavor of real Coca-Cola on your barbecue. The meat is juicy, tender. I can just tear this off with my hands. Look at that shine that we got on the meat. Looks absolutely freaking fantastic. It means we got smoke, it means we got flavor, and it means we got tenderness. Hope you guys got a bottle of Coca-Cola because I'll know what's on your grill this weekend.